Hey guys, happy Saturday. Welcome into PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. I'm Andrew and I have Carmine with me. We're going to break down 3 games for you. And Carm, let's just dive right into the first one. We'll keep them guessing on the next 2 games. We got the Carolina Hurricanes, New Jersey Devils. Carolina picking up Jake Gensel at the trade deadline. A few moves as well for the Devils, but obviously getting Kuznetsov, getting Gensel, those are 2 big ones for the Hurricanes. The team morale has to be at an all-time high right now for this Hurricanes team. What are your thoughts on this matchup in the Metropolitan Division?
This is going to be a good game just because New Jersey hasn't given up. They picked up some goaltending at the trade line. Capo Kakinen, they picked him up. They're active. They shipped out Vanacek as part of that deal. Andrew, just before we came to air, I was out running a quick errand. I'm listening to Sports Radio Toronto, of course, Fan 590, a station that I used to work at for a short while. And they're talking about, the guys are on air talking about Carolina and the Kuznetsov deal, and they think it's such a bad deal. Or one guy did. He's like, you got a player who's just coming off the league assistance program. We don't really know why he was there, but that could disrupt the penalty or could disrupt the dressing room. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy is an idiot. They never disclose what the reason is. It could be anything. It could be mental illness. It could be depression. It could be alcohol. When they go into these programs, you don't know. And that's it. Because you're being protected by the league for the 4 weeks. So, and maybe it's maybe it is a new lease on life. He's going to a different team. Carolina is a very good franchise that is going to have people in place to aid and assist this guy along the way, and he's going to be a good asset for this team heading into the playoffs. So, dumb comment, dumbest comment I've ever heard. So, in this one, one thing that we didn't talk about on the Friday Puck Time was the fact that, and I guess it's because we didn't really talk about Carolina and Montreal playing, but Freddie Anderson back in goal, reactivated, had the issue with the blood clots, back between the pipes, and gave up an early one, but looked good. 4-1. I think they ended up winning 4-1. It's back-to-back games for Carolina. They're going to play Saturday and they're going to play on Sunday. So right now it's looking like Kochikov in goal. Nothing's confirmed as yet, and then Freddie Anderson the next night, but they could very well switch the two. I think the fact that he played on Thursday probably means he won't play again until Sunday. He's also a goalie that you want to sort of nurse along as well too and get back into the game. So I could see Freddie Anderson going on Sunday. I love the moves that the Canes made. If they weren't already one of the favorites to win the cup, I think this move puts them that much closer. This East is stacked, and we saw some teams making some moves to get better defensively. I think the Canes are a good enough team already defensively. The fact that they're adding some forwards to the mix, which they're going to need in the playoffs, and guys who we know can score, is only going to aid them. The Devils haven't given up, and I get it. They haven't given up yet. But Andrew, I'm still convinced it's this team, until they can string 4 or 5 wins together, they're still that inconsistent team that they've been all year long under Lindy Ruff, under their new coach. It's like 139 on Carolina. I think it's a buy low price. I thought it would be 20 cents higher. I thought they'd be about minus 160. And that minus 160, that would draw in some of the money from the New Jersey bettors who love taking dogs and think that Jersey can put it together. A good win against the St. Louis Blues. Blues are not enjoying their trip to the state of New York, having lost to the Islanders, losing to New Jersey, and they have the Rangers up next on Saturday, I believe. So, but I'm going Carolina here. Whether it looks like a square play, I think I'm getting better value on the price I thought it would be to the price that it is.
Carm, there's no need to mention shapes here. It's all about winners. No need for the squares or circles or parallelograms, as Dave Sherapan likes to say.
Parallelograms.
Look, I mean, I agree with you, man. it's funny because I keep joking around saying that I've been rooting for Carolina and had futures on Carolina for so many years that the year I don't put those futures in, that's when they're going to get going, of course. And the fact that so many teams were making these splashes, right? Even, the Leafs, more so in the offseason for them, the New York Rangers, the Florida Panthers continued to add up. They picked up the Buffalo Sabres captain, Kyle Okposo, for what? A couple of Gatorade bottles and a bag of pucks. I mean, it's almost like that was a cap dump for the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah. Florida getting deeper, all these teams around the Eastern Conference getting deeper. And then Carolina says, we want in on the Jake Gensel sweepstakes, and they get him. I thought it was great. And just to follow up on what you were saying about Kuznetsov, I love what you said. I completely agree with you, of course. And what you said there about we don't know what the players are going through. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was actually the guy that works for the NHL that's in charge of the program itself. And he said that no matter what, no matter who it is, no matter what it is, no matter who's working for the NHL or who the player is, when someone says they're going into the assistance program, nobody is ever allowed to let it be known what they were in there for. Like, realistically, we don't even know what Carey Price was in there for. There's all kinds of speculations, and people think they know what he was in there for, but it's all about the secrecy, right? So I completely agree with you. And let's be real here. They have talent. They've got Aho. They've got guys, but they needed some pure scorers, and that's what Gensel and Kuznetsov bring. I'm curious to see Gensel without Crosby, but I think that we can both agree this Carolina team, at their heart, they're a defensive team. If Rod Brendamore had it his way, they would win every game 1-0 or 2-0. Yeah. That's the kind of style he wants to play. You look at Carolina's games recently, besides their loss against Winnipeg, 4-1 against Montreal, 5-3 loss to Winnipeg, allowed 2 against Columbus, allowed 2 against Minnesota, allowed 2 against Dallas, shut out the Florida Panthers, gave up 1 goal against Vegas, 1 goal against Arizona. This team is just playing phenomenal defense. They are getting prepared for playoff hockey. You mentioned that they picked up, Devils picked up Vanacek, Kaapo Kähkönen. They also picked up Jake Allen from the Montreal Canadiens. Yes. So the 3-goalie carousel is finally out of the picture for the Montreal Canadiens. We're sitting here March right now, and Montreal carried 3 goaltenders, pretty much wasted a year of development for Caden Primo. So I'm not really happy about that as a Canadiens fan, because he played, 8 games in a matter of 7 months. Not really good for his development, but nonetheless, I do think we'll see a focus on defense, goaltending for this Devils team. I think you know where I'm going here with this one, Carm. You give me a 6.5 as a total in a Hurricanes game, I'm going to go under with that.
Yeah, listen, I don't blame you at all on that. The 6.5s, and we saw it scoring across the board. Like even yesterday, a lot of lower scoring games, a lot of games that went under the total. So it is something, and I'm talking about Thursday night games. So it is something that you have to keep aware of as we head down the stretch. When I talk about the Devils not making the playoffs, they're sitting in 11th spot right now, 66 points. You have Detroit and Tampa Bay on 72 in the 7th and 8th spots. The problem here is that the New York Islanders are winning games and they're looking good right now. They've won 5 or 6 in a row right now, and they're on 70 points. The Washington Capitals win into Pittsburgh and win the game 6-0. They suddenly believe that they have a chance. So you're not just trying to win games. You're trying to leapfrog teams while doing so. And you look at the New Jersey schedule, and I'm just going to name a few of them, but they've played a game more as well too. But they have Carolina. Then they play the Rangers 2 days later, the Dallas Stars. They get Arizona. They go on a West Coast trip. So they go Dallas, they go to Arizona, they go to Vegas. And we know Vegas got better. Then they've got Pittsburgh, Winnipeg Jets, the Sens, the Islanders, which is, again, a big 4-pointer. They've got to play the Leafs 3 times, the Toronto Maple Leafs 3 times. They got to play the Pens and the Rangers again. Looking down at it, they got to play Nashville again. And then they've got the Flyers and the Islanders. It is all teams that are in the mix, Andrew, and they've got to play them. So when you're trying to make up points, if you're not winning those 4-point games, or you're playing, 550 hockey, that's not enough. It's not enough to leapfrog the other teams. I get it. You're going to take points off of teams. You need to, but I think they've dug themselves in a hole, and 6 points doesn't seem like a lot. But with what is in front of them, they're going to have to somehow find lightning in a bottle and play some phenomenal hockey down the stretch.
Muted there. That's why I cashed that ticket. I got you, Carm. I was the muted guy today.
Yes.
I was gonna say that's why those games are so important in November and December, right? The games that might not mean much in the middle of the start of the season, midweek Wednesday night game, right? Those are the games you'll look back on and say, is that loss to the Anaheim Ducks the reason we lost the playoffs? Didn't make the playoffs. Is that loss against the Montreal Canadiens the reason we didn't make the playoffs? And that's the thing, is that it can be so exhausting for some of these teams when you look at the schedule, because every team has their schedule hung up on a whiteboard in the locker room, right? And you look at all these games and you think, okay, we've got 7 games in a matter of so many days. We have to win 5 of them. We have to win 6 of them. And that can be so exhausting for some teams. Versus the playoff teams, of course, they want to keep building on their success, but they're also just more so focused on tactics, focus on playing the right way, doing what their coach says, because wins are great, but it's not like every game is deciding their fate. I can't imagine how exhausting that is for some of these teams. And as you mentioned there for the Devils, they now have the Islanders breathing down their throats.
Yeah, they're chasing the Islanders at this point. And then the other thing here is that, the books obviously agree right now on the Devils not making the playoffs, because you can go over to DK and you look at it, and under team futures, the New Jersey Devils are plus 450 to make the playoffs, minus 650 to miss the playoffs. That is some heavy juice. Man, if you had taken the Devils at the beginning of the season and to miss the playoffs, you would have been getting a ton of plus money. That's a bad bet for now. It's a bad bet for anyone who took it early on. So I was looking through my futures, Andrew, and I've got the New York Islanders in there to make the playoffs, because I put it in when you and I disagreed in our preseason show. So I'm like, oh, I've got the Islanders to make the playoffs. Okay, so that's a little extra pizza money for me.
That'd be sweet. I'm rooting for you, man. I'm rooting for you. You know who I'm rooting to miss the playoffs? That the team, the logo is right in the middle below where you are on the screen right there.
Yes,
that would be the funniest thing in the world. Let's get into some promo stuff real quick. Promo code WIN20 WIN20 will take $20 off a 3-day package over at Carmine's page. All kinds of plays across multiple sports, including NHL, including soccer, so much more. So guys, make sure you head over to Carmine's page and grab those best bets. And for myself, Andrew20 will take 20% off any package over at WT.buzz/AM, WT.buzz/CB for Mr. Carmine. All right, game number 2. We've got Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. Who would have thought at the start of the year, Carm, this would be as big of a battle as it is right now? But it is. It is a big game here. And I'll go first this time and just say this. I've been trying to work on not letting teams frustrate me. If I lose a bet on a team, not hide away from them after I told you so many times what the Kings did for me and what some of the teams like the Rangers did to me at one point. So I backed the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Calgary Flames. What do? Give up 6 goals. Prior to that, they're playing some pretty good defense. And I also look at this spot. They gave up 6 goals against Philadelphia the last time they played. And you know how I feel about rapid revenge. It's not revenge from 2 months ago. It's revenge from a very short period of time ago. It's from February 27th. When I look at the losses recently for Philadelphia, which is a lot of times what I do when I'm looking at team totals, they lost 2-1 against St. Louis, but against Washington, they gave up 5 goals. Against Pitt, they gave up 7 goals. Against New Jersey, they gave up 6 goals. And against the Maple Leafs, they gave up 4 goals. At FanDuel Canada, we can get plus 100 odds right now on the Tampa Bay Lightning to get to 4 goals. And that's the way I'm looking. Tampa team total right now, Carm. I actually don't know if I can trust the defense of Tampa Bay right now. I just don't know if I can. They did make some moves. They picked up Duclair, some other depth pieces as well. So I do think that they're going to be a good team down the stretch, and we are getting some good prices on them. But as for now, they might be a strict team total team for me, because when you look at some of these wins they're putting together as well, they beat Montreal 4 goals, beat New Jersey 4 goals, the Islanders 4 goals, Avalanche 6 goals. So I'm on the team total over 3.5. Me and you can't do a video without myself talking about a team total. So this is the team total of the video for me. Tampa to reach the 4 goal mark. Carm, what do you have for us?
Yeah, Andrew, I put this game as one of the 3 we're going to discuss, just because normally you would think, okay, well, this is, Tampa and Philadelphia. There are much better games on the card, but this is suddenly a game in which there's playoff implications at place right now. You've got Philadelphia in 6th place right now on 74 points in a playoff spot. You've got Tampa holding on to that final spot, and they've played 64 games as well too. Islanders are 2 points back with 2 games in hand. So if they were to lose this game and the Islanders have Anaheim up next, then all of a sudden they are tied, and the Islanders still have 2 games in hand. Tampa would still hold on to that 8th spot, and that's because of, and we talked about on PuckTime, the regulation wins is the tiebreaker, and that's going to come into play in the last week of the NHL season. I firmly believe with all these playoff races, the regulation wins are going to come into it, which means we might see teams in tied games pulling their goalie to try and win in regulation if it means getting a playoff spot. There are 26 regulation wins for Tampa, only 20 for the New York Islanders, and they're only separated by 2 points. The Flyers, you got to give them credit. They have played well all season long. They have stayed in the top 8, I'm pretty sure, all season long. And they go into Florida. They beat Florida the first game out of the All-Star break after both teams were off like 8 days, and they beat them 2-1. I didn't think they were going to go to Florida and beat them again by that same score, but it was like, you could call it a smash and grab, call it what you will. They beat Florida in Florida 2-1, won that game. And I think they very well could carry that momentum into Tampa. I think Florida's route to winning this game is to keep it, Philadelphia's route to winning this game is keeping it a low scoring game. You look at some of their games, Andrew, 2-1 over Florida, 2-1 against the Blues, 4-2 over the Sens. You look at the 2 games that these teams have played, both in Philadelphia, 6-3 and 6-2, each team winning one of the games. You see a lot of goals in the games, but I have a feeling that this is not going to have as many goals. So to help your team total, how about like a 4-1 Tampa win for you? So you get your team total, and I get my under. I'm even happy with 4-2. 4-1, they're not pulling the goalie. I'm good with that. I'm taking the under.
I think it's a good under game, but at the same time, get me to 4 goals, man. I don't care if it's 4-0. I'll take that. We do have some good goaltending right now. Like you said, that this Philadelphia team, very unpredictable, and they get up for all games. They are a consistent team. They've been kind of just they've been just hiding out in that wild card spot. It's where they've been sitting for quite some time now. So we'll see if they stay in there and remain in a playoff spot when things are all said and done. I do remember you and I butting heads about the Islanders, so we'll see what happens with that one. But I can't remember what they all were right now, but we made some money with our season-long player props. Remember, you and I each did 1 or 2 for each conference. I think that was pretty successful. We were both made some money, but guys, we're happy to be doing a Saturday Puck Time. Please hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, WagerTalk TV. Shout out to Chris Allen behind the scenes, putting this video up for us on the weekend, on Saturday. We always appreciate you, Chris.
Chris is a rock star, man. Chris is a rock star.
And we're happy to be doing some puck time here on Saturday. Carm, any more comments on this one before we head on to game 3?
No, that's pretty much it. It's, these, and I say, guys, look at team schedules, for the last 20 games or so. Form an opinion if you have one, and then see in the futures market on teams to make or miss the playoffs, if you can find value. And value is getting plus money, not laying any juice at all. If there's a team on the outside looking in and you like them and you think their schedule is favorable enough, take that plus money. And at least at this, if they make the playoffs, it just reaffirms what your original opinion was, that you saw it right and it came through and made you money. Take plus, do not lay any vig here on out, because that last week of the season is going to be so crazy. And just imagine you losing a bet because a team is tied 3-3 and pulls their goalie to avoid going to overtime. It is that is about as worse luck as you can get. So put in a little bit of homework, man. I'm going to mention a few of them on Puck Time throughout the next week or 2 weeks, because there's some very good spots. We have 6 weeks left. So I think in this regular season, 6 or 5 weeks left. So we'll see how that goes.
I've got a question for you, Carm. Do you think that with how tight the playoffs are going to be, I mean, every year I'm so excited, but this year I've just, with the trades and just how stacked some teams are, with how tight things are, do you think this year more than ever we could potentially have the opportunity to do some of that arbitrage betting? I guess it wouldn't be arbitrage, but getting a team as the underdog in a series, and then if they go up 1-0 in the series, getting both teams at plus money. Do you think that this could be the year that happens a lot, where we could somehow get a plus price at some point in both teams to win the series?
Yeah, here's the thought, Andrew, about the East, and it's something I was thinking about earlier today. And you and I were looking at different sports books and different prices, because with the trade deadline happening today and some of the moves that are happening, books were fluctuating. The futures market, they were changing, and you could look at 4 different books and they had different prices on teams. Now it could be just a small change, but 14-1 is better than 13-1. 12-1 is better than 11-1. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know this. But with that said, if you form an opinion, and I'm of the opinion right now that I'm still of the opinion that Carolina and the Florida Panthers are going to win their divisions, which means that they can only meet in the conference finals and not sooner. So I'm also of the opinion that if I shop around and I can find Florida and I can find Carolina at 8-1 each at different books, I would actually play it, because I feel both teams are destined to end up in the Eastern Conference Finals, barring an upset. And now I get it. One bet is burned. At that point, one bet is burned. But the winner is moving on to the Stanley Cup, and you have 7-1 now, because you've burned your 8-1, part of your 8-1 on the 8-1 that lost. You now have a 7-1 bet, and there is no way whoever Carolina or Florida plays in the Stanley Cup that they are going to be a plus 700 underdog to.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So you now have the arbitrage that we talked about, Andrew, that you're mentioning. You can now take, let's say Florida ends up meeting, we could see a Canadian team. Let's say Winnipeg, of all teams, because Winnipeg has made some moves too.
I'd like that.
Florida or Carolina would be favored in that series against Winnipeg, especially if they have home ice. And it might not be a big one. It could be one of those minus 200 plus 170 type of scenarios. It could be even lower. I might be doing Winnipeg an injustice here, but you now have a Western Conference team at plus money, and you have the Eastern Conference representative at plus money, and you can decide to find a hedge in which, no matter what happens, it's meeting somewhere in the middle, and you can get 4-1 on your money. And it may not sound like a lot, guys, but when you're doing any kind of arbitraging, when you're doing any kind of hedging on bets, I always say if you can hedge out a profit, it pays for vacations. Andrew, every time you ask me, Carm, how are you going on like 4 vacations and 3 trips to Vegas? Because I have specific, I chart all my futures, and I will hedge out of the ones that I can make a profit on, bank it, and move on. And it's the Warren Buffett. You made your money in a stock, get out of it, and let someone else try and make money out of it. So I'm perfectly fine with eliminating the risk by taking a little bit of the reward.
No, I mean, the idea, what we're doing here, we both love hockey. It's fun to bet on. We're trying to make money. And right now, it's March. March Madness is here, college basketball. And what I've decided this year, and I decided at the start of the season, was to create a portfolio of future wagers. Because you get so wrapped up in betting it. And there's so many great experts at WagerTalk I'm following along with. How many games are there in March Madness, Carm, right? Live betting opportunities. Yeah. So what I decided to do this year was to grab a handful of teams at minimally 10-1. I've got a few 20-1s, 15-1s, and put yourself in a position that you can make money. And I'm going to be following along the tournament, setting myself up for success. Anybody that tells you that hedging is for gardeners and not sports gamblers, I don't think they're fans of making money and guaranteeing yourself with money, but that's for a whole nother day. That's for a whole other conversation.
And I know we got one more game to go, but I'm going to make, I'm going to highlight a person or kudos to a person. Johnny Detroit in our Detroit office is one of the best arbitrageurs I know. He posted in our company Slack about, when the odds came out for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Right? He literally posted odds of 2 different books and how there was a disparity in the odds that you could bet Jake Paul at one book, Mike Tyson at the other, and you were guaranteed a profit by doing it. You're not betting the same amount, of course, but it's an arbitrage. You're playing one against the other. So you might say, okay, well, I'm going to risk $2,000 to make like $100. Well, here's the thing is, if someone said to you, listen, go out, leave $2,000 on the counter, and when you come back from dinner, there's 2,100 there.
Yeah.
Not a penny less, not a penny more. You wouldn't do it? Why wouldn't you?
Right. Exactly.
It's a free 100. Why wouldn't you? So
Carm,
he is great at this. He is getting banned from books, I think, or they're cutting his limits because he is so good at it. So, kudos to Johnny, man. Next trip to Detroit, he's buying the wine.
It's how I feel when people in the summer say they don't want to bet on CFL because they can't watch it. I don't care if you watch it. I don't care if you like the CFL. We're trying to make money here, and that's the thing is it's sports betting. I had a friend that did the exact same thing you were just talking about that JD mentioned to us with League of Legends. I'm not sure if you even know what that is, Carm, because I barely even know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what that is, the esports, the video game stuff. There were so many books that had no clue what they were doing with their League of Legends odds. He would go to one book and bet one team, one book and bet the other, and he was getting good plus money on both of them. He would watch the match, and he was like, this is sweet. I'm making money either way. But anyway, that is my cue that I have gone way off track in this one. So let's get to the Western Conference game we'll discuss. This should be a great one. I look forward to watching this one. Plenty of UFC, though, going on. But I'll be making sure I can make time for this game. Dallas and Los Angeles. This newly looked Dallas team is going to be really deep. They're super dangerous. And how about a guy, Logan Stankoven, that continues to play well? He's got 5 goals in 6 games played with this Dallas Stars team. Unbelievable since being called up. They pick up Tanev. Carm, what do you think about this matchup here? It's pretty much a pick 'em price.
Yeah, this is I'm pretty sure this is only the second meeting between these two. The Stars won the first one at home. The line on this one right now, the overnight line on Friday for this Saturday game is 110 both ways. So Ottinger's in goal on Friday night for Dallas. So it's Wedgwood in goal on Saturday. That's how it should be. And it should be Talbot for the Kings. Now, Dallas is on a back-to-back, Andrew. So in back-to-backs this season, just bringing that up, Dallas Stars, excuse me, I've played 9 back-to-backs this season, 4 wins, 3 losses, 2 OT losses in those games. Average goals scored, 6.77 goals scored per game in those ones. So you would think about, okay, well, it looks like I may want to play the over in this game. I'm not entirely sure. Again, because these are 2 teams battling it out. You have the Kings right now on 75 points. And if the Flames continue to win, and I hope they don't, but if the Flames continue to win, they could, and the Kings don't start to put some wins together, we could see them falling a little farther down the standings. The Seattle Kraken are winning games as well too. I mentioned to someone in our Friday video in the comment section about his comment to me was, the Kings came back from a 2-0 deficit to Ottawa. What do you mean they can't score goals? You look at the top 8 teams right now in a playoff spot in the Western Conference, and the LA Kings have the 7th lowest goals per game average. They're the 2nd worst of those 8. Only ahead of the Winnipeg Jets. But the Winnipeg Jets have played 1 game fewer, and that actually changes. So they would, of the top 8, they have the worst. If you factor in the Calgary Flames, who are 9th, the Kings still have the lowest goals scored per game. If you're going to allow them, you better be able to score them. They were able to do it against the Ottawa Senators. I'm not sure if they can do it against a team like Dallas. You look at, there's a lot of good defensive teams. The Canucks are a good defensive team. Winnipeg Jets are a good defensive team. You can play good defense, but you're going to need to score more than just 3 goals a game to win in the NHL, unless you're right now the Winnipeg Jets, who have only allowed 148 goals thus far. Kings have been very good defensively, and that's why they are where they are right now in a playoff spot, 167 goals allowed. But the scoring is probably the biggest issue with them when they're playing a team that's physical. They're a team that can back check and plays a 200-foot game. I'm taking the Dallas Stars. I love the fact that they didn't roll over and play dead against the San Jose Sharks. They came back with, they were 6-3 down in that game, came back with 3 late goals in the 3rd period and then winning in OT. Good teams find a way to win games, and the Dallas Stars are doing that. They're 4 points out of a top spot in the Western Conference. And earlier in the season, maybe a couple months ago, I said I thought they were the best team in the Western Conference. I'm kind of still sticking to that thought, Andrew. Give me the Dallas Stars.
I really do like this Dallas Stars team. They have it all, and hopefully they can get Tyler Seguin back before the playoffs and get him healthy. But it's a really deep team. So you and I are head-to-head, Carm, but in different ways. So there's a way we can both win. And, across multiple sports, you notice this. And we always say, the books know everything, right? The books factor stuff into their prices. They know when a player's injured. They know when there's a back-to-back. They know when there's certain things going on, right? And I know college basketball handicappers that, let's say they see a line that it's, minus 14, right? For a team, full game. But their first half number is minus 10. That should be a flag, right? For us to wonder, okay, why is it not exactly half of what the full game number is, right? Well, right now, we're seeing a minus 110 full game. First period money line for the LA Kings, minus 130. So some people might say, Andrew, you can get minus 110 on the full game. Why would you take the 130 on the first period? Well, the books, they know what's advantageous or not. They know it's a second half of a back-to-back. The Kings, to me, have been good starters in some games and not as good finishers. A big reason, I believe, Carm, as you mentioned, they can't outscore teams. They can't get to 4 or 5, right? Dallas could easily go down 1-0 in the first period and win that game 4-2. Would not shock me in the slightest.
Yeah.
So a rare first period play for me. I'm going to go with the money line for this LA Kings team. to have that rest advantage, to come out on a good note, to play strong defensive game, get out at least 1-0, win the first period. And then after that, I hope Carm can win 5-1. That's fine by me. So Carm, first period play for me, actually. We're going to go with the LA Kings minus 130.
I'll support that with you, Andrew, with a couple of stats here. At least one that well, I'll give you a couple stats that stand out. The LA Kings at home with first period money lines are 14 wins, 7 losses, 9 pushes. You're up money betting them 8.14% ROI if you flat bet them every first period at home on the money line. The Dallas Stars on the road, 8 wins, 11 losses, 14 pushes, minus 5.9 units or minus 13.67 ROI. So one you're making money, one you're losing money. Sometimes when you put those two together, you end up with a winning wager. So there you go. Some stats to support your bet.
That is music to my ears. So 3 games broken down there, 2 promo codes, win20 takes $20 off for Carmine 3-day package. Get all his NHL, soccer, and much more over at WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/CB. For myself, Andrew 20 will take 20% off any package available over at WT.buzz/AM. Carm, why don't you tell folks at home what you have going on for this weekend? I know we had that promo code we mentioned, but any closing thoughts?
Yeah, that promo is great because it knocks the $69 3-day all access down to $49, which is the price of the 2 packages. And I'm going to have soccer on Saturday, 2 different soccer packages. Going to have an MLS package as well, and then an NHL package. So there's 3 of them going on Saturday, and then Sunday an NHL and a soccer one. So there's 5 different packages just those 2 days before we get into Monday and Monday NHL as well too. So it's a great deal. $49. It's was that work out to like $19 a night? My math is bad. It's $16 a night, $16 a day. Not a bad deal, guys. Right now, 3 plays up in soccer. EPL in the morning. We have an NHL card that'll be loading Friday night, and then the MLS card as well too. I'm off to the season opener tomorrow, 2 p.m. at BMO Field, downtown Toronto. Toronto unbeaten, Toronto FC, 1-0-1 after picking up 4 points on the road. Home opener. I'll be having a couple of beers and watching some football, European-style football played here in Canada, Andrew.
Not too bad. I'm looking forward to watching some games this weekend. Cracking a few cold beverages. Guys, make sure when you're gambling and you're betting, make those bets before you start having a good time partying with your friends. Let's all make some money this weekend. Let's all have a great time. Keep your stick on the ice. We'll see you on Monday right here on Puck Time.